Let me tell you about a sentence that got buried in a legal document filed with the US Securities Exchange Commission 6 days ago. Oracle, one of the biggest enterprise software companies on the planet, disclosed in an annual regulatory filing that it had cut 21,000 jobs in the past 12 months. That's 13% of its entire workforce gone. Now, companies cut jobs all the time. That's not the story. The story is what Oracle wrote in that filing. Legally binding words to federal regulators, not a PR statement, a document where you go to jail if you lie. The adoption and deployment of AI technologies across our operations have resulted and may continue to result in reductions to our workforce. And I quote, "That's a first, a major tech company putting AI job displacement on the record. Not we're restructuring, not we're optimizing for growth. AI took those jobs. More will follow." I'm Bec, and this is Career Jams The Riff, our weekly AI jobs news for people navigating the impacts of AI acceleration. Today, we are deep diving on what this week's data and AI jobs news is actually telling us about where the labour market is heading and what it means if you're a mid-career professional trying to figure out whether to panic, adapt, or both. Before we get into the country-by-country breakdown of AI jobs news this week, I want to give you a frame for everything that follows, because the data this week is genuinely contradictory. PwC analysed over 1 billion job ads across 6 continents and published their 2026 Global AI Jobs Barometer 2 weeks ago. We've covered it in the news before. The headline finding is AI is creating a 2-track labour market. Track 1, jobs that are being professionalised by AI. These are roles where AI takes over the routine, and what's left is higher stakes, judgment, leadership, expertise, accountability. Think radiologists, senior recruiters, complex legal work. These roles are growing twice the rate of other jobs, and salary growth is 42% faster. Track 2, jobs being democratized by AI. These are roles where AI makes the job easier for non-experts to perform, and therefore the market needs fewer experts. Think medical secretaries, IT service managers, mid-level content work. Still growing, but slowly, getting squeezed on salary and more vulnerable to further automation as the tools improve. Here's the uncomfortable bit for most of us in this audience. The dividing line between those 2 tracks doesn't fall where you'd expect. It's not about whether your job is creative or analytical. It's about whether your role requires trusted human judgment at the decision point, or whether AI can now reliably handle enough of the decision-making that the human part becomes optional. Now, let's look at what's actually happening around the world this week. Let's start in the US, because that's where the most consequential news landed this week. We already talked about Oracle, but zoom out and the picture is even bigger. According to the layoff tracker that aggregates verified layoff events, as of the 27th of June 2026, there have been 260 layoff events in 2026 impacting 185,894 workers. That's averaging over 1,000 job losses per working day. And 56% of those events explicitly cite AI automation or machine learning as a contributing factor. TechCrunch's running tracker of layoffs explicitly tied to AI in 2026 includes Amazon, 16,000 corporate jobs, Meta, 8,000, Block, Jack Dorsey's company, 4,000, which was 40% of the entire company. Salesforce cut roughly 4,000 customer support roles after the CEO said publicly on a podcast that they needed less heads because AI agents now handle the work. Now, there's a legitimate debate happening about how much of this is real versus theatrical. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman actually said in February that there is some AI washing where people are blaming AI for layoffs that would have otherwise happened. Oxford Economics concluded in January that firms don't appear to be replacing workers with AI on a significant scale, and a National Bureau of Economic Research paper found that 90% of executives say AI has zero employment impact at their own firm. So is this real displacement or corporate narrative management? Honest answer, it's a bit of both. The roles that are being cut, customer support, content moderation, data entry, mid-tier product management, these are genuinely roles where AI tools have crossed a cost-effectiveness threshold. The money for these jobs are going to AI infrastructure instead. Whether it's AI caused this or AI is the convenient story for this, the outcome for the people affected is the same. The Goldman Sachs analysis we covered last week is worth referencing. They estimate AI-attributed payroll reductions across major US employers are running at more than 16,000 per month in 2026, but augmentation-exposed roles are adding back about 9,000 per month. So the net math is negative and worsening. Here's the bit the mainstream coverage keeps missing. This is not a tech industry story anymore. Yes, tech is leading, but the Challenger report data shows AI-attributed cuts have now spread into finance, logistics, consulting, media, retail, and manufacturing. The 22-23 layoff wave was companies that had overhired during COVID and cutting back to survive. The 2026 wave is profitable companies posting record revenues, reallocating resources away from human labor towards AI infrastructure. Shifting to the UK, and this week they lost their Prime Minister, and that's not the only thing they're concerned about. On the positive side, because they need a bit of positivity, UK specialist AI jobs postings surged 61% in 2025, rising by 68,000 roles. PwC's analysis shows this reflects a shift from infrastructure implementation to actually identifying what humans should do in an AI-enabled organization. But a separate study from Coface found something alarming. Around a fifth of all tasks performed by UK workers are exposed to AI automation. That's the highest proportion among the 12 advanced economies they analysed, higher than the US, Germany, Sweden, and Australia. The reason? The UK fell into what the researchers called a headquarters trap. Britain became an international hub for high-paying, white-collared roles in finance, IT, legal, and media. The UK government could face a drop in tax revenues if AI disproportionately displaces high earners, just as there's a great need to boost public spending on transition programs. That's a structural problem that hasn't made it onto the front pages yet. Wages for AI skilled workers are already reflecting the split. The PwC barometer shows an AI skills wage premium that has climbed to 56% in 2026, up from just 25% just last year. If you have demonstrable AI skills, you're getting paid dramatically more. If you're in a role where AI is doing what you used to get paid to do, the market knows. Ireland doesn't make it onto the global AI jobs discussions, which is a mistake because we all remember what a huge tech hub it was when it created the tax breaks to attract large international tech companies to its shores. Ireland published a digital and AI strategy to 2030 earlier this year. And what's notable, the Taoiseach's forward said, "We recognise that technological advancements will inevitably bring disruption, and we will support workers to navigate the impacts of potential jobs displacement." They named it, and they're owning it. That's the government explicitly acknowledging in a strategic document that their AI policy will displace workers and that they need a plan for it. And we're not hearing that in many other governments. Ireland has also launched AIReady.ie this year, a national platform with free short courses specifically tailored to older workers, small business owners, sole traders, farmers, and people returning to the workforce. Not just tech workers, not just graduates, the full spectrum of society. The Deloitte State of AI in the Enterprise 2026 report surveyed 50 Irish executives alongside 3,235 global C-suite leaders. In Ireland, 84% said the skills gap is the biggest barrier to AI adoption, and 90% reported moderate to extensive job redesign already underway. Ireland is also about to take on the EU Council presidency in the second half of 2026, and they've flagged they'll host an international AI and digital summit during that tenure. They're positioning themselves as the regulatory bridge between the US tech companies headquartered in Dublin and the Brussels regulatory framework. Watch this space. The Celtic Tiger is making a comeback. The EU AI Act takes full effect in August 2026. That's next month. And the workforce implications are significant and underreported. The European Commission has launched what it's calling the Apply AI Strategy, a sector-specific plan for embedding AI across the European economy with 3 priorities specifically related to workforce. The flagship initiative is an AI Skills Academy that will aggregate AI training from across EU-funded programs, develop a new generative AI-focused degree, and pilot an AI apprenticeship program. What's interesting from a career perspective, the Commission is explicitly linking AI literacy to sector-specific job profiles, not generic digital skills. A healthcare worker, a manufacturing floor supervisor, and a legal professional need different AI literacy. That's a more sophisticated approach than most national programs. The skills gap data from Europe is stark. European companies deploying AI are outperforming those that aren't on hiring and wages. But the pace of change is outstripping the education system's ability to respond. In Ireland and across the EU, the concern isn't just will AI take my jobs, but are we building the workforce pipeline fast enough to fill those new roles before the economy feels the gap? RTL, the European broadcaster, is cutting up to 1,000 jobs in Germany. Zalando is closing its Erfurt distribution centre, affecting 2,700 roles. These aren't obscure companies. These are the bellwethers of European media and retail. The disruption is real and sector-wide. Home now to Australia, and I want to highlight a piece of research that's not getting a lot of coverage in the mainstream career conversations. There's been a lot of focus on AI's impact on white-collar knowledge work roles, but a piece published in the Australian newspaper this month, originally from Microsoft's news platform, makes the case that the next frontier of AI adoption is on the job site. Literally, Australia has nearly 2 million skilled tradespeople, and we're going to need a whole lot more with Brisbane hosting the 2032 Olympic Games. The Productivity Commission found Australia's labour productivity growth is at its lowest in 6 decades, well below the OECD average, and field-based industries like construction are lagging the most. The argument is that AI tools designed for field workers, diagnostics, scheduling, defect detection, safety, compliance, could do more for Australian productivity than the same tools deployed in already tech-savvy office environments. There's a great example of the unicorn startup from Brisbane, my favourite city in Australia, ProcurePro, and that's applying procurement to construction, making some major productivity gains for construction companies in that sweet spot. This information matters for career conversations because it disrupts the tradies are safe narrative. Trades have traditionally been considered AI resistant because they require the physical presence, the manual dexterity, and the on-the-job problem solving that AI can't be trained for. But the cognitive components of trades work, the planning, the estimation, the compliance, the documentation, those pieces are highly automatable, which means tradespeople will need the same AI literacy conversation we've been having with knowledge workers. On the job market more broadly, LinkedIn's Jobs on the Rise 2026 list for Australia is dominated by AI-specific and AI-adjacent roles. AI literacy is the most in-demand skill in Australia according to LinkedIn's data, and AI job mentions in Australian job ads have nearly doubled in 1 year from 2.8% to 5.8% of all postings. The geographic spread is notable too. AI roles are expanding beyond Sydney and Melbourne to Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide. According to the PwC barometer, 50% of advertised jobs in Australia fall into the democratised category, roles where AI makes the job easier for non-experts. Only 24% are professionalised roles growing on the good track. That's a higher democratised proportion than most comparable economies, and that's something to watch. China's 2026 government work report, released through the 2 sessions in March, set a target of more than 12 million new urban jobs for the year, alongside an explicit roadmap for building what they're calling an intelligent economy. Here's what's interesting about China's approach. The employment authorities are framing AI as a job creator and upgrader, not just a displacer. They're targeting the expansion of AI use across key industries, accelerating commercial application at scale, and explicitly investing in higher value sector jobs, AI, semiconductors, robotics, green energy as a replacement for the manufacturing export volume that's facing structural pressure. The humanoid robots showcased at China's 2026 Spring Festival Gala weren't just a spectacle, they were a policy signal. Factory automation is accelerating, but China's also running a managed transition. The state can direct investment and workforce retraining at a scale that market economies can't. The question is whether the pace of job creation in new sectors keeps up with the automation-driven displacement in old ones. The African angle Now, here is actually the story nobody's talking about. An analysis in the Diplomat this year argues that what China's 2026 AI push can teach Africa is that automation removes the industrialization ladder narrative is too simple. Africa's labour market challenged 12 million young people entering the workforce every year, with only 3 million formal wage jobs created annually. That requires a different response than anything China or the West has ever modelled. I want to spend a moment on Africa because it's almost entirely absent from the AI jobs conversation in Australian and UK media. The standard narrative goes, manufacturing was the economic development opportunity for Africa. Japan climbed it, then South Korea, then China. It was supposed to be Africa's turn next. But AI and robotics are automating manufacturing before Africa gets a chance to step onto the ladder. And that's a concern. But the China 2026 data complicates it. The timeline of automation is uneven. Some physical tasks remain harder to automate than many cognitive ones for now. And Africa's 740 million person increase in working age population over the next 3 decades isn't going to wait for that story to resolve. What's being underreported? There is a growing AI capability ecosystem emerging in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana. And it's built around data labeling, AI training operations, and increasingly applied AI in agriculture, healthcare, and fintech. This isn't just outsourced low-wage work. It's the beginning of a local AI for Africa capability stack. The question is whether that stack gets built fast enough and whether the economic gains stay in-country or get extracted by external platforms. That's a policy and investment question that the current global AI jobs conversation barely touches. Before I get to the big picture take, I want to flag the BCG AI at Work survey. BCG surveyed nearly 12,000 frontline employees, managers, and leaders across 14 global markets. The top line, 74% of frontline employees are now regular AI users, up 23 percentage points in 1 year. That is a massive shift. Among those regular users, 42% report saving a full workday's worth of time each week. That's 8 hours per person per week. And here's the thing, BCG's finding is that most organizations haven't figured out what to do with that saved time. It's not being reinvested in growth or development. It's just disappearing into more activity. The other finding that BCG is calling the joy paradox, which is kind of not always a word that we relate to work, says that 2/3 of regular AI users report higher job satisfaction, but 41% of the same people report increased cognitive load and mental strain. AI makes work better and harder at the same time. It removes the dull tasks, adds new pressure to review, judge, and be accountable for AI outputs. Nearly half of all workers surveyed now spend more time managing and directing AI than actually doing the work that used to define their job. That's a profound shift in what work means and how you find meaning in the work that you do. And no one's really preparing people for that identity transition. Also in the BCG data, leaders are more anxious about AI than their frontline teams. 43% of managers and their leaders feel their roles are at risk versus 36% of frontline workers. Senior people who understand the structural shifts and also have fewer years to retrain are quietly more scared than people on the tools. So let me try to put all of this together for you. The data this week tells a story in 3 parts. Part 1, the disruption is real. Oracle named it in a legal filing. More than 185,000 workers have been cut from tracked companies in 2026, averaging over 1,000 a day, with AI cited in more than half of those events. Goldman Sachs says AI is running a net negative on monthly US payroll growth. The BCG data shows that the skills goalposts in AI-exposed jobs are moving at twice the rate of less exposed jobs. This is not future tense anymore. Part 2, it's also not the AI jobs apocalypse just yet. The Yale Budget Lab found no micro-level evidence of AI labor disruption at scale. Yet, the NBER paper found 90% of executives say AI hasn't changed employment at their own firms. The PwC barometer is clear that professionalized roles are growing fast and companies deploying AI are hiring and paying more, not less. The displacement is concentrated in specific task types within specific roles, not across the board. Part 3, the gap between yet And now is where the mid-career professionals live. If you're 10 to 25 years into your career, you're in the zone that the data describes as reshaped, not necessarily replaced, but operating under fundamentally different expectations with no clear transition support from your employer and a retraining ecosystem that was designed for a different kind of disruption. The PwC finding that sticks the most is that AI-exposed junior roles are now 7 times more likely to demand traditionally senior skills. So what do we do about this? Because the easy take is go learn AI skills. And that's not wrong, but that's not enough. Here's what the research actually suggests. First, figure out which track you're on. Are you in a professionalized role where AI is removing the routine and increasing the premium on your judgment and expertise? Or a democratized role where AI is making it easier for cheaper or less experienced people to do what you used to get paid for? The answer shapes your strategy. Second, the skill is not just using AI. It's being trusted when AI can't be. The PwC data shows the premium is on trusted expertise, judgment, accountability, navigating ambiguity. AI can produce options. It can't carry the responsibility. The question for your career is whether you're building a track record of trusted judgment or whether your value has been primarily in the execution that AI can now handle. Third, the save time is yours to claim. If BCG is right that 42% of regular AI users are saving 8 hours a week, what are you doing with those 8 hours? Most organizations aren't capturing that value. That saved time is an opportunity. Start your side hustle. Use it to build the skills, the visibility, the track record that positions you on the professionalized track. Don't wait for your employer to give you a reskilling plan. They probably don't even have one yet. Fourth, watch the hiring freeze more closely than the layoff announcements. The Columbia Business School analysis is important. It says AI's main channel of impact on labor isn't increased layoffs, it's reduced hiring, especially of junior workers. The senior people aren't being shown the door. They're just not being replaced when they leave. And you'll feel that if you're one of those people left behind. The talent pipeline is drying up quietly. Oracle SEC filing this week is going to be cited in economic papers for years to come. It's the moment a major corporation stop using soft language and put AI jobs displacement on a legal document. Other companies will follow. The story is no longer might AI affect jobs, it's which jobs, on what timeline, and what does that mean for someone who is mid-career right now. This show exists because these questions deserve real answers grounded in data. You want to feel comfortable about your next steps. If you found this useful, the algorithm would love a like or a subscribe. And if you liked it, spread it like the jam and let us know if there's any particular job sectors or data you want us to go deeper on next week. Thanks for joining the jam.